10 a.m. 103.3, 107.9 KNOX FM, KNOXradio.com. There's an app for that. Lots of ways to get us as you go through the course of your day. So, gentlemen, I'll tell you what. We're going to start off with Jeremy, if you'd go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeremy Osby. I have been with Rydell for a little over 2 years, and I have been at the Toyota facility for about 6 months now.
Okay. And this young man who I found out I know his dad, so that makes it even more special. That would be Kirby.
Hey, everyone. Kirby Holwerda here. Been with Rydell a total of 14 years and over at the Toyota dealership for 2 years now.
Well, there you go. So you know the drill and you know the routine. We're talking Toyota service. And so if you've got a question, you can go ahead and give us a call, 775-5559, or you can text to that number, and these folks will be able to help you or point you in the right direction. Remember, it's service, so they're not going to be able to help you with sales. You know, we're talking about service today. So I will ask you out the gate there, what's kind of the first big problem that often people see during the course of we've had some really big temperature swings, right?
Yeah, it's been, once it kind of gets below zero, you definitely start to see a lot of battery issues. So this winter, I hope everyone bears with us, but once we start to see that cold snap, cars have gotten so technical now and they have so many modules, they use more power. Mm-hmm. So it used to be like the old-fashioned, you could let your vehicle sit for a week and, it's not going to have any issues, but with how complicated these vehicles have become and how many modules they're keeping alive, it's starting to see those, sometimes 3, 4, or 5 days. But the big thing is we're getting a lot of people in and we're changing out a lot of batteries and helping people out the best we can.
That's an important point. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I never quite thought of it that way. The electronics are always on, even when the car is off, because of all the information that is retained from the last time the vehicle was in operation. So it's basically what we used to call a trickle leak. So,
yep. And what I can say, too, to add to that is we see a lot of the 21 model year vehicles and up. They know you're approaching the vehicle before you're even 20 feet from it.
Really?
Yep. It starts turning things on. A lot of vehicles will prime fuel systems. It's kind of just like gets to turn the key on before you get in the vehicle.
Huh. Well, that's fascinating. So that's all the sensors around by, and it recognizes the fob, I presume.
Yep. It has a little area that it operates in.
Jeez, isn't that pretty cool? Wow. Okay. So, Kirby, what would you like to add? I mean, from your experience, the whole battery leakage thing is actually pretty cool.
Oh,
Top
absolutely.
that.
That's a pretty common issue that we do have during the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
Another common issue that folks have is with their heating. Obviously, you want to stay cold and keep warm in this area with our wonderful winters that we have. So a lot of times we'll have radiators leaking and thermostats that are sticking, and I'll flash that check engine light on. And sometimes during that the weather spikes, you'll have a tire light that gets illuminated. And to add with what Jeremy said, a lot of times when the battery is failing or has gone out, the engine light will illuminate, and that will ripple a number of different other issues that it's all centered around that battery issue.
Fascinating. So we're talking with Jeremy and Kirby, Toyota Service, on this Rydell Car Talk Tuesday. You got a comment, you got a question? 775-5559. You're on with the folks. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, hey, I need a taillight for my Cadillac SRX. The Rydell parts guy told me there was not one available in the United States. I was just wondering, are GM parts and cars still made in Mexico? And
all right, we're talking Toyota, not GM. So nice try, but no, we're not going to. I'm going to be putting a stop to those. I've often let you ramble on for a few times, but you know what? Let's stay focused. We're talking Toyota Service. So if you've got a question about GM, you can reach out to the GM side of the house and talk to them directly. How's that? Yeah, let's just go ahead and do that. So we're talking with Jeremy and Kirby, Toyota Service here in Grand Forks. Right, I'll tell you what, the battery thing, that really has just got my mind cooking. So when the weather turns cold, obviously, sometimes the vehicles crank just a little bit slower because of everything is, colder. Now, is there any indication that the ordinary citizenry can look at and think, well, how long has my battery been around? How should I have that looked at?
Batteries can be tested too upon like visiting the shop. So like if anyone ever wants, we do in the spring and the fall, we do what's called a seasonal inspection, and we test the state of charge of the battery. We check all the fluids. So literally, if you wanted to bring your vehicle in twice a year, we'd check it twice a year for you. Or if you ever have any just questions, you can always just schedule an appointment and just bring it on in. But a good rule of thumb so far right now with these newer model vehicles, if you're getting a 2-3 years out of a battery, you're doing great.
Okay. So we're talking PMs, preventive maintenance is a good thing, and twice a year is from the end of the cold season going into the hot season, at the hot season going to the cold season. Those are kind of good rules of thumb to maybe apply.
Yep. Definitely get them checked then.
Okay. Very good. Rydell Car Talk Tuesday, 775-5559. If you've got a question, we're talking with Jeremy and Kirby, Toyota Service. So that's what we want to talk about. So if you've got a question for these folks, give us a call, shoot me a text. So what else is going on that folks should be aware of when we are into the cold weather season like this, that maybe just to kind of help the vehicle, survivability, as it were? Now, we haven't had any really prolonged cold snaps, but I would imagine the big ups and downs can present their own challenges.
Yeah, I would recommend if you have the ability to let your vehicle dethaw. Sometimes a lot of that ice and slush can mess with the sensors and get up in between the drive shafts and other suspension components that can create some weird, odd noises that normally you wouldn't hear from your vehicle. So if you get the chance to allow your vehicle to dethaw and let that stuff melt off, or run it through a car wash, is another great option. And if you do happen to run into a situation where you hear an odd noise or something odd's going on with your vehicle, we're more than happy to take a look at it.
A text to 775-5559 says, how do the batteries react to the temperature changes we have in North Dakota?
Ooh. Well, typically what you'll see is when they get a little cooler, you'll start to see a little bit of a voltage drop, and your capacity, which is what the battery's available for, does start to drop. So typically you'll just start to see a little bit of the capacity go down. So like maybe a battery that's good for 700 cold cranking amps, once you start to get below zero, may really only have the capacity for about 500. So, when you want that kick behind the starter, you might have a little less.
Okay. And a question, what's the difference between the normal cell batteries and the new glass batteries? Glass batteries. I'm not familiar with the glass batteries.
That is a really good question. I'll have to talk with our parts department and see if you can give me a little more insight personally on that one.
Yeah, I don't have too much information on that either.
Okay, so it must be fairly new technology there, Texter. Well, that's interesting. So, like I said, if these gentlemen don't know, they know who to talk to. A text to 775-5559. What does your inspection cost?
Well, a courtesy inspection itself is free. So a courtesy inspection could be added onto any oil change. It could be added onto any services. And as far as the seasonal inspection, I do believe those are free of cost too, if I remember correctly.
I believe so.
So, I mean, as far as like a brief inspection without any diagnostics, without any kind of like a deep dive, but us to, check your battery fluid, your tires, your brakes, that stuff, it's actually free of charge with a courtesy check.
Yeah, which I've always noticed too, that you get the little tidbits saying, yeah, well, we've noticed you might want to come back and have this looked at in detail, and another time have the tires rotated, and they take a quick look at the vehicle to make sure that everything's functioning. So Texter, from that standpoint, they try to keep an eye on it for you as best as they possibly can. 775-5559. Let's see. I'm guessing the last message meant the glass matte AGM batteries. They're the ones that can be tipped on their sides, like for ATVs and snowmobiles. Okay, does that ring a bell? Or?
Yeah, so those batteries have a wide variety of like areas and places they can be put. Typically, they're a little bit lighter as well, but they're affected a little less by the cold as just the way they're constructed, obviously different materials. So they tend to have a little bit of a less affection by like the heat and the cold.
Okay. So AGM battery glass is I guess the middle of the G. Well, that's interesting. I learned something new every time y'all are in the building because it's something that I've not heard of before. So, but it makes perfect sense. Rydell Car Talk Tuesday. We've got Jeremy and Kirby in the house, Toyota service. If you've got a comment or a question specifically to Toyota, 775-5559. These folks are able to help you out. And I know that the history is if they don't have the specifics, they know where to look and who to point you to, because that's what they're about, is service. Now, this time of year, with the temperatures being up and down, do you see an increase in folks coming in with problems as the expansion, contraction? Is that something that that the big extremes in the weather affect, or the vehicles today is pretty robust?
Yeah, so like there's typically some issues that the cold weather can cause. Like for sakes, like once it gets cold, you do get obviously everything shrinking down. So like you may start to get lean codes, which you can have gaskets shrinking up from over time. So they get hard, they get brittle. So they do start to shrink down a little bit. So you may end up with like an intake leak. It's the same concept that goes with your tires. A lot of times people come in with the tire light on. A lot of times it's just the bead around the tire. So you get that cleaned up, a little bit of corrosion, but it's because things, expand and contract.
Oh, sure. I've noticed on the really coldest of days, my tire pressure would be in the 20s. I mean, when it's way, way cold. But once you've driven a couple of miles, it pretty much pops back up to where it should be. So folks need to be cognizant of that. And that could spring a leak.
Yep. And a good rule of thumb for keeping your tires in the winter is for every 10 degrees and change is 1 PSI up or down with the weather. So when we see these 40-degree swings like during the wintertime, it may be moving down 4 PSI, up 4 PSI. It just depends on how much the swing is from when you set your tires.
Thank you for that, because I've often wondered about that particular question, because I leave here at 6 in the evening, and a lot of time after the car's been out on the really cold days, I notice the pressure's down consistently. I think about that. Boy, is this too low? But it does tend to come back up. So you can follow it a little bit to maintain that bead around the vehicle.
Yep. And we have a little bit of a concept at the shop. We go ahead and we set the TPMS sensors at the vehicle specified. But if during the winter, we actually bump it up a little bit before we roll it out to make sure that when the vehicle gets outside, the pressure drops within the standard.
Sure. Okay.
Absolutely. Yes, usually we set it about 510 PSI above. And, and that's just a courtesy that we have during this cold season.
Yeah. A text to 775-5559. What is the average life of a factory battery in a late model pickup in this country, in this weather? That's interesting.
Late model pickup. So you're going to have a lot less electronics with that. I would say between 5 and 7.
Okay.
I've seen a battery go 10 years. But if you're daily using it, running it, I would say if you had a later model truck, 5 to 7 years is probably pretty okay.
Okay. A text to 775-5559. How long can I let my car warm up before driving? Is 40 minutes too long?
I don't think 40 minutes is too long, especially with some of the blizzards that we have. But definitely want to get that run in here with the cold weather and everything before you just hop right in and let her buck, because that can do some damage to the motor, obviously. And it's better to get in a warmer vehicle for sure. Jeremy, do you have any input on that?
I am 100% guilty of letting my vehicle run for a minimum of 20 minutes because I have an auto start and I don't want to go outside. It's that simple.
So we'll take Jeremy's rule of thumb. 20 minutes is a pretty good. I know that's just a rule of thumb. Got that.
That's just Jeremy's rule of thumb.
Just Jeremy's rule of thumb. Rydell Car Talk Tuesday. Jeremy and Kirby in the house. Toyota service. Couple of texts to get to at 775-5559. Toyota Corolla versus Honda Civic. Any preference?
Oh, both are great makes. Excellent for cars. Sure. Yeah. I mean, I prefer Toyota. Obviously, I drive a Toyota and work on them. And Jeremy, what do you think they're between the two?
Those are two big industry hammers from both sides,
and they're great vehicles.
Those are your gas mileage getters. You know, you can get them both. Obviously, they're both 4-doors too, so you can tote the family around a little bit if you need to. But I gotta have my Toyota. But that Honda's still a really good car too. I mean, it really what it comes down to, if you were to pick between the two, which seat's more comfortable,
Sure.
what colors do you like, what's the tech package like. It really comes down to your personal preference. Those are both two very amazing cars.
Mm-hmm. A text to 775-5559 makes the comment, you get what you pay for when it comes to batteries. So a lot of people will try to go on the less expensive side to fit in the budget, not recognizing in the long run you might pay more.
I would just recommend wherever you get your battery from to just get a warranty with that, and then when you get that battery through warranty and it get inspected seasonally, because you never know when that battery is going to go bad on you.
And that's an important point, because how many people actually bring their vehicle in and say, I specifically maybe in September, October, when the weather starts to turn a little cooler, and they can do a test, because then, based on the temperatures, you get an idea of how many amps you should pull for how long to give you the relative health of the battery.
Yep.
Excellent point. Rydell Car Talk Tuesday, Jeremy and Kirby in the house. We're talking Toyota service. We got a few minutes left together before we're going to have to kick these gentlemen out for the day. Is there something specifically that y'all would like to mention when it comes to service, especially this time of year? That's a common issue maybe folks can proactively try to avoid. I know we've touched on a couple of different things, but the letting the car run for a few minutes to warm things up.
Yeah, I would say obviously we love to service and help anyone out there that needs help with their vehicles, but some little things that you can do is checking your tire pressure, making sure that your fluid levels are good as far as with your oil and your antifreeze and transmission. Just check the colors out. If you got any questions on how to do that, we'd love to show you firsthand, and no charge there. Just come on to the shop and ask for some help.
And it's an easy thing to do. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you folks to go ahead and maybe schedule a little service or a question, what's the best way to do that?
We do have a BDC department that schedules appointments, and they're great, and they do that all across our different stores here in Grand Forks, and our store is pretty tight. So you typically, if somebody comes in and asks for some help from one of the technicians or knows someone specifically, it's not difficult for someone to know who they're talking about.
Sure, understood. 775-5559. You're on Rydell Car Talk Tuesday. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so this is embarrassing, but the other day I was running late for work. I forgot that I had left my car outside, so it had probably sat outside in maybe definitely below 0 temps, and I only let it run for 5 minutes before I started driving into work. And I did drive slowly, but I'm just wondering what kind of damage can happen from that? How much did I hurt my girl by doing that? I'll hang up and listen.
All right, thanks. Excellent question.
What I can say is at a 5-minute interval, you've hurt absolutely nothing. The most important and crucial thing is the fact that oil circulates through the engine in the first second that motor starts. You already you're primed, you're ready to rock. So even if you wait 30 seconds, you're actually not going to hurt anything. But what it does is, you got your creature comforts. You start getting your heat after, 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes. But to actually hurt something, no, you're not going to hurt nothing starting at 5 minutes like that. It's just sometimes a little easier. Like I said, it's a creature comfort to have the heat.
Sure. There you go.
Hurting nothing, not possible at 5 minutes.
Okay, because the cars are built in today's world. The technology has advanced to the point where the creature comforts are the primary, but the no less secondary is the mechanics have really come a long way, the technical side of it.
Yeah, things have gotten pretty crazy the further we go. It's as far as how advancements go, it's not unlikely to see new training every month for us.
No.
We got new stuff popping off left and right, a new this in the car, or a whole new operating system come out for the dash of a vehicle, and we all have to learn it.
Oh, sure.
So it advanced faster than we can learn it, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But that's just where it's at.
Okay. Well, that's good. Any final thoughts there, gentlemen, as we wrap the show up for today?
Thanks for having us. I think we're sitting pretty good.
Yeah. So
I appreciate you having us on and letting us answer questions and just having a talk.
Yeah. So how did it go? How was the first shot? Not so scary after all, huh?
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Look forward to hopefully getting another opportunity for sure, and that's what I got to say on that.
A gentleman has a GM question, so if somebody's got a question about GM, they should probably reach out to the GM side of the house, I would presume.
Do we still got time? I can take a crack at it.
Well, GM hasn't come up with a better fuel tank vent system that doesn't plug up so easily. My current 2021 Silverado with a 5.3 had 3 put on under warranty, and now it's plugged again off warranty. So sounds like there's a fuel vent issue with the Jimmy.
Yeah, the inlet filter on those, it's a real bugger. What ends up happening is they do got to find a really good location for it. I don't have an answer for it, but on those trucks, I do believe it's located up by the fuel filler neck. And what happens is if you drive gravel, it's just a dust storm underneath your truck. So it's just filling that filter end, and there's not really too much you can do about it. I would say if someone was mechanically inclined, you could take the filter vent off the vent and you could blow it out periodically if you wanted, but sometimes that's just not an option for people.
Mm-hmm.
But I think every tech for GM out there is also hoping that they could come up with something a little different for us.
Understood. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for taking the time to come on out here this afternoon. I do really appreciate it. Jeremy Kirby, thank you very much for coming on down and talking with us on this Rydell Car Talk Tuesday, the Toyota service section. So,
awesome. Thanks for having us.
All right. No, glad you're here. Mark Ewan's on this KNOX afternoon. So much more to talk about as we go through the course of the day, and we'll dive into that as we move forward on this, the Blowtorch of the North, 1310 AM, 103.3, 107.9 KNOX.